They beat us, restrain us. It was terrifying. That's not good for a 9-year-old. It's not good for any year-old, because that sticks with you, and it still affects me today. What up, I'm Rob Level, and I'm about to tell you a screwed up piece of my life story. This story is the one about how therapists convinced the person who adopted me to put me into psychiatric hospitals when I was 9 years old. Yeah, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Right, first, before I start that story though, I'd like to thank you for watching this video, because I know that my stories, and I have a lot of them, they're helping a lot of people, especially this story. And I know this story's gonna help a lot of people too. Hopefully it helps you, but it's about to get really, really intense. And I hope that it doesn't bring up any trauma or bad memories for you like it does for me. But with that said, as a disclaimer, let's get into the story. Okay, so now when my mom had given me up for adoption at 5 years old because I was so violent and angry, and she caught me in my little brother's crib with a knife when I was 4, and all that other stuff I told you in the other crazy stories, my stepdad convinced my mom to give me up for adoption. Okay, my stepdad convinced my mom to sign a paper that said that once I was put into the orphanage and into the system, that no one was allowed to find out any more information about me. Didn't matter if somebody adopted me, no information, not even them. It was like here, writing me off, so that my stepdad would never have to worry about me ever again. And he could just live his life with my mom as his wife and his newborn son. Yeah, fortunately for me, as a dying wish to my dad, my aunt, who was his sister, adopted me. And she really didn't want to, but how can you say no? You know, my dad just wanted to be able to see his son for the last few years of his life. So, you know, she took me on as a burden, which was really fortunate for me. Not for her, but for me. But if she hadn't adopted me, I would have been put into the orphanage, into the system. And because I was the only thing my dad really had to live for, he probably wouldn't even have lasted another 6 months after that. At that time, no one else in my family would take me because they knew it would be a burden, and it wasn't their responsibility to take me. You know, they didn't have the sex that made me. So looking back, I understand, and I know how bad I was. But my aunt was actually in the Army when she adopted me, and she came up from Tennessee to adopt me. And then suddenly my whole life changed as I was brought back to a new home with my stuff, like almost overnight. That was after court, when my mom told me I was just gonna be leaving with my aunt for the summer. Lie. We lived in a 600 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment. So the bedroom was more like a closet, because, you know, that was her place. She didn't think she was gonna have me. And by 2nd grade, I was already put into the school's special education program because I broke my 2nd grade teacher's leg. Just kicked their leg and broke her leg. It's not funny. It's kind of funny. I messed up. So after that, as you can imagine, with good reason, I had to start seeing psychologists. And they didn't know what else to do. Nothing was seeming to work, so they put me on medication. A bunch of them, which really didn't help any. It really only seemed to make me piss the bed. Really. And also on top of it making me piss the bed, which was bad enough, it made me even worse. Imagine me being worse. One time, I was hitting her with a stick in the street, and she was trying to get the stick from me. And I noticed the car was coming down the road, so I let her have the stick, and I fell to the ground. And the person in the car that drove up slowed down, stopped, and thought that she was beating me with the stick because I was already so angry and crying. And then they called protective services on her for that. Like, I was bad. I mean, that's one of the many, right? I would run away from the daycare centers if they made me mad. I just run out the door, peace, and run home. They'd have to call my aunt, and she'd have to leave base to come get me, which, you know, if you're in the Army, that's a problem. I'd go home, climb on the roof of the house. You're not getting me down, all right? And then one time she got me babysitters, and I cracked the babysitter's head open within a month. You know, so after that, she had to start bringing me with her to base, which is not allowed, but where was she gonna put me? I remember even in the mornings when she'd do PT, which was really early, she'd bring me with her. And they run, they do the push-ups, and I go with her. That was not allowed, but she had no idea what to do because I was uncontrollable. And then when would watch me, the medications only seemed to make me worse. So the Army's like, you got to do something about this. And her life, you know, I don't even think about it until I'm actually kind of saying it out loud. Imagine that every day, waking up knowing, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna lose my job? So at that point, what else was she gonna do? It just made sense, I guess, when psychologist / my therapist, the fake Dr. Phil, recommended that I was put into a psychiatric hospital, live in 24 hours a day, long term. And if you Google the place, you'll see, to my surprise, when I did Google it, it's actually considered a psychiatric hospital, which it makes sense because it pretty much was. It was a live-in place where you couldn't talk to the person, you couldn't talk to your guardian. Like, imagine you were in there, you can't talk to your mom, can't talk to your dad, and I didn't really have a mom or a dad. They beat us, restrain us. It was terrifying. And if you go look at the place and look at the reviews, as I'll show you in another video, as I tell more about that, that's not good for a 9-year-old. It's not good for any year-old, because that shit sticks with you, and it still affects me today. But I'm gonna tell you guys more of my crazy story in another video. I don't want this one to be too long. So if you wanna see the next story, I'm gonna put it below this video for you, and I'm gonna put some video recommendations at the end of this video for you to check out. That'll match this story. And if you have a second, go below and look at people's stories and comment. and help them. Give them your advice, especially if you've been through the same thing, so that they know that they're not alone and people do care about their story. And if you're struggling with something, you want to change something about your life, anything, write it below so others can help you. No one is judging you here. This is a safe place. I will delete anybody hating on you, okay? You'll also notice that I'm below commenting on a lot of these because I read these stories personally. So tell them, I want to see them. And to really help me out, please like this video while subscribing at the same time. It'll help me motivate and inspire more people because of how the YouTube algorithm works. So please like this video and subscribe. If you want to see more screwed up parts of my story, or all the other crazy parts that happen, I put all the links to my story that were part of my life story song below this video for you. And these titles, I titled them so well that you're gonna want to see every single one of them because they're all crazy. It's the craziest stories all in a bunch. Now, I'm gonna put a few on the screen here for you to check out while one of my songs that fits this story plays in the background. I'm Rob Level. Keep believing in yourself and keep hustling. I'll see you at the top. Like, this place abused the out of everybody who went here. I snapped. I'm screaming. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Like that's not fair. I was just so mad. This is what they do. Right? They ask, "You want to get restrained?" As his rhinoceros-sized self stepped towards me fast and aggressively. It was too late. I already snapped.
Level. Ooh, I would've thought by now that I'd be way past these days. By now that my top be down on my brand new black Mercedes. Thought I would've made it by now. 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 Working 9 to 5, saving to survive. Pay the bills and put a little to the side.